Hey, it's Joey. I'm not really doing serious stuff on this channel, but someone asked me to make a tier list on fruit, so I was like, sure, why not? So let's rate some fruit. So I am only rating fruit today that I've eaten before. If I haven't eaten a fruit like durian, I'm not going to put it on here. If you think I should try durian, maybe I will eventually. So yeah, so here's a bunch of fruit, and we're just going to kind of rate them. Don't take this too seriously. That's what this channel is for, just random stuff. Okay, so I don't really like apples. Apple juice is in everything because it's got a bunch of sugar. Sometimes you see pear juice and stuff instead, but apples kind of suck as a fruit. They look nice, but that's kind of all they do. They talk about how, oh yeah, you want a cultivar so that the fruit actually tastes good, and then you have a fruit that looks good and it doesn't taste very good. Apples suck. Apples can go right into F tier. Are there some apples that are okay? Sure, but you know, it's kind of the exception rather than the rule. Now pears. Pears, on the other hand, they taste great, but they look like shit. So pears are actually pretty good in my books. No one really eats them because they're not really worth it. The whole start of this conversation came from Maurice in the Discord saying I should eat a pear because I was feeling a bit hungover. I ate some grapes. It kind of helped a little bit, but it wasn't like actually too helpful. So the pear is kind of okay. I guess we can put it in B tier. Pears are just so ugly that you don't really want to eat them, but they're usually fine. And you can eat like the brown spot on a pear and you're probably okay. But after all the like mold and fungus videos I've done, I don't know. I'm just kind of weirded out by weird looking fruit. Grapes are another one that kind of suck. We have these really cool grapes around here called cotton candy grapes, and they taste like cotton candy. There's several different brands. There's different ones that come out in different seasons, but they taste like cotton candy. If you think I should do a video about that at some point and like try and see if I can get them analyzed to see what the compounds actually are, maybe I'll do that. You can like leave a comment down below. So grapes overall, they kind of suck. You get the stem piece stuck in the fruit, and then when you're eating it, you have the hard stem piece, and you either like eat it, which is insane, or you spit it out, and then you're like weirded out by the grapes. So grapes also kind of suck. They can go into E tier. They're not the worst, but they're not that good either. Now pineapple, I really like pineapple, but then you have to cut up a whole pineapple, and then if you're gonna buy like the little chunks of pineapple at the store, you kind of feel like you're getting ripped off. So instead, you just buy a whole pineapple. You wait too long, and it goes bad, or you cut it too early, and then it's like raw still. It's like not ready. And so you end up spending tons of time cutting a pineapple. Was that worth it? Was it worth it saving your money? No, it wasn't. So pineapples are pretty good. You can also tenderize meat with them. I've seen that on Google Foods or like another food channel before. And I've tried it out and it works pretty well. You can even use the green part of the pineapple. You can dilute it in water. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what they say. We'll put it in A tier because like almost every other language besides English calls this ananas. And yeah, English makes us look like an anus. So yeah, we'll just put that in A tier. Now, watermelon. So watermelon's pretty good, but kind of like the pineapple problem. You get this whole fruit, and you don't really want to cut up the whole thing. And if you do, you'll realize you don't have a big enough cutting board in your whole house to cut a watermelon. And sometimes they sell like parts of a watermelon, but I feel like you're not really getting the fresh fruit, so I don't really buy those either. Watermelon's kind of challenging. If you relate to this, you can like let me know down below. So watermelon's okay, but it either tastes like water or it tastes good. And when you get a good bite of watermelon, hey, it's pretty good. So watermelon, it's kind of in between. It kind of sucks though. So we'll put it in C tier because it's green. That kind of matches. I'm okay with that. So peaches, these are also like nectarines. So if we're talking about nectarines, I fucking love nectarines. Nectarines are so good. They're like one of my favorite fruits. It's the best part of the summer in BC, Canada. So normal peaches, yeah, they're fine. But nectarines, oh, they're so juicy and sweet. They're like, oh, they're the best ever. Nectarines specifically, S tier. Super, super S tier. Cherries, cherry flavored stuff is great. I love cherry flavored stuff. Actual cherries are a lot worse and they have a pit. So you might say, well, Joey, a lot of fruits have pits. It's like, yeah, but most of the time the fruit to pit ratio is pretty big. But in the case of cherries, there's a pretty big pit. Now you can like blend them up, but then you get the cyanide coming out and stuff. You know, I figure I should probably teach you guys slang today. So I'll teach you a little bit of slang. If you don't want to learn, you can just fast forward this part. So cherries, peaches, plums, apricots, almonds, they're all from the same genus. They're from the Prunus genus. And so you can cross certain ones and they're okay. Like you can cross a plum and an apricot and you get a plumcot. You can cross a plum and a peach and you get a Pluto. Or they have like other names depending on where you are. And if you say it differently, you're wrong. However, if you cross like cherries and a peach, you get glycotoxins that make it poisonous to eat the fruit. So don't cross random fruits and just assume they're safe to eat. You should like do at least a search on Wikipedia for like 5 minutes before you do that. So cherries kind of suck. They're good once someone else has got the pits out, but sometimes those machines that do it aren't perfect, and so you get chunks of pit. So it's just kind of like it's a big ordeal. So cherries can go into like C tier because they're from a good genus. I think most of the fruit in that genus is pretty good, but yeah, it's just a lot of work. Now let's talk about honeydew. Honeydew is another one of the melons, and so the melons are just too much work. Like, sure, it's just one big fruit, you can pick the whole fruit. Yeah, but I don't care about that. I don't grow melons, so it's just not an issue for me. If I'm gonna buy a whole one of these, I don't even think I've bought a whole honeydew before. It's just way too much work. I would get like the pre-cut ones from a store, eat that. Maybe that's fine, but half the time these things just taste like water, so you don't even like get a sweet taste. The same issue also is the case for cantaloupes. Plus, cantaloupes and honeydews, they have all those seeds, right? We'll just take care of both of them right now. If you've ever actually cut one of these up before, I have cut up cantaloupe before. They have so many seeds and they go everywhere, and you think you can get rid of them all, but then you can't. So then you just end up eating them. It's probably fine. Hopefully you don't grow a melon inside of you. That's not a thing that happens as far as I know. But, maybe you're the lucky person who gets a melon inside of them. So cantaloupe usually will taste better, not always, but they still have this issue where sometimes they just taste completely like water. So I think I'm going to be a little bit harsher. Those can both go into D tier. Watermelons are so cool. Like, look at the aesthetics of a watermelon, and then just like look at a cantaloupe. It's like I'm the boring fruit. Okay, now we have plums here. This is kind of a weird looking plum, but it was the first picture I found on Google that didn't look like complete garbage. So yeah, if you're wondering how I get rid of the background, Adobe has this tool where you just like drag and drop it in and it removes the background. I don't know if it's free or not, but I have it, so there you go. Plums are kind of hit and miss. I think I had a couple really good plums a few times, and so I'm always like, I got my hopes up for the next plum, and then it's not that good. So, most of the time recently I've had a plum, it's been too sour and, just not that good. Plums are going to be a little bit harsher. We can also put those into C tier. Dragon fruit. Dragon fruit is interesting. There's another name for this, and that's wrong because what we call it here is dragon fruit, and that means that's what its name is. So dragon fruits, they look really cool. They leave a weird aftertaste in your mouth that kind of reminds me of like the smell in a freezer. It's got that like pyridine taste to it. So is it okay? Sure, you can put it in a smoothie. You're definitely not getting all the seeds out for this. And if you somehow wanted to separate all the seeds out of a dragon fruit, I think you're insane. So dragon fruit looks really cool, but it's probably too expensive, and then it's not really worth eating. I think dragon fruit can probably go into D tier because it starts with a D. Avocado. When you get a good avocado, oh my gosh, it's so good. When you get a really good avocado, it's amazing. You put that on like a sandwich with some bacon and eggs, and it's incredible. You make some good guacamole. You want a life hack for some guacamole? You go to Red Robin's. You get a pack of Red Robin seasoning. It's like cheaper seasoning salt. They'll sell it to you for like $4 or $5. It's a good deal. You can just put that on fries and like anything. It just tastes way better. Like, why wouldn't you just do that? So go to Red Robin and get one of those seasoning things. So if you put a little bit of that in with your avocado after it's ripe enough when you're making guacamole, that's like the best guacamole ever. It's like a really good life hack. And a little bit of lime juice goes a long way. Do you need tomatoes and stuff in guacamole? Probably not. But like avocado, when you get a really good avocado, it's just the best ever. I think avocado is another S tier fruit, and I haven't had one for a few months, so I should probably go get one. Okay, I keep accidentally clicking on this one, so why don't we just deal with prickly pear? I really like prickly pear. Sometimes they're like a decent deal at the supermarket, so I'll buy some, but it's probably been a couple years since I saw them. But they're pretty good. Like, they can actually be really sweet, like pretty decently sweet. Now, sometimes they'll still have like the little spikes sticking out on the outside of the fruit, and if you get that in your finger, it can hurt for days. And so I've had that before. It's not really something I think anyone should experience. You don't really want like microfibers stuck in your fingers. That's not a fun experience. So also the seeds in these are pretty big, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. And I figure like, it's probably fiber. It'll do something in your body. Feels like it's unpleasant, so maybe that's healthy, but I don't know if that's really how things work. So prickly pear, I think prickly pear is actually probably better than an actual pear, so I'll put it into A tier, even though it has that stupid thing where the spines will stick in your finger. That's definitely like the worst part of it. Apricots. I've had like a good apricot like once or twice, and the rest of the time they suck. The thing I do like about them is you can just like rip them open, like tear them in half, like that meme where the guy's holding a thing of wood and rips the wood in half, and then you just don't worry about the brown part that you probably don't want to eat. So apricots are like, okay, the worst beers I've ever had have been apricot containing beers. It just completely ruins the flavor of the beer, and every time it's like, oh, it's going to be good this time. Nope. Especially Hefeweizens, not just the worst ever. So apricots, I think we could put them in F tier. At least an apple's going to taste like nothing, but an apricot's just going to be sour and lame. Oranges. I almost forgot to put an orange in the tier list, and nobody in the Discord said anything about oranges. If you did, I'm sorry. So oranges can be really good. They can also kind of suck. If you get an orange with seeds, it's not like a great experience. But when you get a really good orange, oh my gosh, like your whole day is just like amazing. If you get like a ripe, fresh orange that's like just from the supermarket and you have a bite, it's got that like, wow, there's hope in the world. Oranges can be like super S tier, but your hands are going to smell like orange for the rest of the day. That's just a given. And you can spray people with the peel if you're bored. I'm not saying you should do that. Yeah, I am. Go spray someone with an orange peel the next time you have one. Okay, blackberries. Blackberries are everywhere, especially in Canada, Western Canada. They're everywhere. Like, you might be thinking, Joey, is there some in your backyard? Probably. Is there some in every path you walk everywhere? Yes. They just grow everywhere. There are native ones and there's invasive ones. And the invasive ones take over, but the native ones are also kind of problematic, and then they interbreed. Anyway, the blackberries, like, they kind of suck. They can occasionally be pretty good. I've picked so many blackberries in my time because they're everywhere. It's like free food, but your time's not free. You have to spend your time somehow. And are you going to spend it picking crappy tasting berries? Probably not. Blackberries overall, they're not that good, and they are a menace for the ecosystem. So we'll put them into E tier. Okay, strawberries. I'll teach you something. Again, it's not been too much knowledge in the last couple fruits, so I'm sorry about that. We'll try and teach you a little bit more. So strawberries can often be like those big, massive, ugly-looking ones. If I feel like finding a picture, I'll put one on screen now. And when you get the really messed up, giant-looking ones, it's because you can have duplicates of all of the DNA in a strawberry. So you might have your typical diploid. You might have your typical 2 sets of every chromosome, but in certain fruits and plants, you can just like quadruple, octuple, or you can even have like 16 of them, and the fruits are still viable, and that actually makes the fruits bigger sometimes. So strawberries, that can happen to you. If you like look at this one, this looks like your typical diploid strawberry, but if you have like a bigger one, if you have one with more ploids, then it's going to be like one of the bigger ugly looking ones, and those usually taste fine. But again, strawberries are also a little bit overrated. Sometimes they taste amazing and sweet. Those are good ones. But the really big ones usually just taste like water. Maybe that's okay. Like it's not like a bad water taste. I'd say it's at least like a B tier taste. So strawberries are like okay. Strawberry flavor, for whatever reason, just never tastes like strawberry. Kiwis. Okay, so if you eat a whole kiwi with the skin, you're a monster. I know people who did that, and I think anybody who eats the peel of a kiwi is a monster. I think you need to like cut it in half and just squeeze it out brute force, or you can like peel it, but peeling's too much work. I'd usually just mangle what the inside of the kiwi looks like just so I can get it out of the peel. So kiwis can be okay. They're pretty sour. They're a tart fruit. They're usually overpriced for what they are. Sometimes the golden kiwis taste a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know. They last for quite a long time in the fridge in my experience. Like if I have I can't talk for some reason. I've had kiwis in the fridge for like a month before, and then they're still okay, but I'm not a huge kiwi person. They're just a lot of work, plus the fuzz is kind of not great. So kiwis are okay. I think they're probably like a C tier fruit. They could be better. Star fruit, speaking of stuff that tastes like water. So star fruits, they look kind of cool. They're a bit overpriced, and I don't know how you tell when they're ripe because they don't really change color much. You either get a green one or a yellow one, and then you can eat it, and they're kind of okay. The middle part you can eat as well, but it's kind of too hard, and you don't really want to, and so you're like, should I eat this, should I not? You kind of just chew and eat what you feel like. This one also has like a bit of an apple taste, but it's got more flavor than most apples, but not much, just barely more than an apple. So these ones look pretty cool, and they have a cool name. A star fruit is pretty cool. Sounds like a power-up from Mario. I think we can put this into E. Now, raspberries. Raspberries are really good. I like raspberry-flavored stuff especially. My favorite beer is this raspberry beer from Lindemans. They also have a really good cherry Krike, and that is like my favorite beer ever. So the raspberries are pretty good. A fresh raspberry always tastes amazing. Raspberries are what blackberries promise to be. I think raspberries are easily an A tier fruit. You might not like them because you're too sour. That's right. I said you're too sour, not them. Blueberries, S tier. Blueberries are like one of the 3 foods I would eat growing up, and I would just destroy blueberries. When blueberry season comes around in BC, you get the most amazing blueberries ever. You can get like a whole box. You can get like 10 pounds of blueberries. They're so good. Do they have some antioxidant benefit? I don't know. I think most of that stuff's baloney, but they're a really good fruit. Blueberries are great. I love blueberries. Now, figs. You might not have had a fig before. Figs are pretty hard to come by, or if you get them in a grocery store, I have yet to have a good fig from a grocery store. But a friend of mine, his family grows figs, and those figs are the best fruit I have ever eaten. Adam Raguzia has a video talking about how figs are pollinated by wasps, and if you like to have the pollination of figs kind of ruined for you, you can check it out. But maybe not. If you watch the whole video, maybe you'll understand better. But the figs from my friend's fig tree were like an 11 out of 10 fruit. They were the best tasting fruit I've ever had, and I was like an evangelist for figs after I'd had them. So figs, absolutely incredible when you get a good one. If you're going to get them from the grocery store, they might suck. If you got good figs in your neighborhood, let me know, because I love a good fig. So a tomato is a fruit. I put it on here because someone thought they'd be funny and suggested it. Tomatoes are okay. I actually didn't used to like tomatoes at all. If you want some like Joey backstory lore, I actually worked in a tomato farm for one summer as an undergrad. And that was miserable work because it was so boring. They let us listen to podcasts or music, though, and that made the whole summer bearable. So I didn't like tomatoes at all before I worked there, but having fresh tomatoes there of several different varieties, that was like a game changer for me. I became a way less picky eater after working in the tomato place. So most tomatoes, you could take them or leave them. You know, they have a place on a burger, but like barely. And all the nice smaller ones that are pretty are usually overpriced. So tomatoes are okay. I'd probably put them in like C tier overall, though. Now, bananas. If you didn't know that bananas are triploids, I can do a whole video about bananas at some point if no one else has done a good video on this yet. So bananas have 3 sets of chromosomes. The ones that we get anyway do. And so because there's 3 sets, it can't properly like split up when the cells divide to make like baby bananas. So when a mother banana and a father banana love each other very much, they try and split the chromosomes, but then they can't. So because there's 3 sets of DNA, they can't properly split and make more bananas, and so the seeds never become seeds. And so there's tiny little black things inside of the middle of a banana, or what a banana was going to become. And so they have to graft the banana tree onto different trees, and basically they have a bunch of clones. This is like the Clone Wars, but with bananas. And so if a disease comes along to one of those plantations, it could just wipe like all of them out. Are there a couple of varieties? Yes, there's a couple different varieties that exist, but they tend to be pretty vulnerable to pests. So bananas are pretty good. As a fruit, they're dirt cheap. There's this like whole Banana Republic backstory lore for how bananas came to be, but they're really cheap. You can get them everywhere, and most people like bananas. They also will like make a smoothie at least like 1 out of 10 higher than it would have been. So banana is also an S tier fruit. No massive complaints. Now the last fruit we have here is mango. I'm not including the inferior other varieties of mango. This specific variety of mango, Atolfo, is the best mango. And when you get one of these that's ripe and perfect, it is the best fruit ever. It is like as good as those figs were. And I hadn't had these until I was quite a bit older, but my wife was really into these when she was growing up. And so she introduced mangoes to me as this incredible fruit. I'd had like mango fruit juice in other stuff before, like as an ingredient that was like a mixture, but I never had like a mango fruit till I was an adult actually. So these mangoes are really cool. A nice party trick is after you score the mango, you can pop it inside out so that it looks like this, and you can just eat it as is, even without a spoon if you want. And yeah, if you get a good fresh mango, you can even get them from grocery stores, and they can just be incredible. So I love a good mango. We'll also put this one into S tier. So maybe this video is entertaining. If you like stuff like this, you can let me know. And if not, that's fine. You can just go watch videos on the normal channel. Have a great day.